Action Team True Hope Church. This video, the goal behind it is to update you on our team meeting that we had this last Sunday. And so hopefully you printed out your notes that are attached to this email. If you haven't, pause the video, print them out, or pull them up on your device so you can follow along. We started out our morning in God's Word, and I'm going to try to be quick because we had a lot of content. I want to succinctly summarize it for you. But we started out with God's Word. That's our foundation. That's where we start as a church family all the time. That's where we should start anytime. And so I want to share two verses with you. The first is from 1 Peter. It's 4:8 through 9. And here's the passage. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gift you've received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. The next passage is in Leviticus. It's 19:33 through 34. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you are foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So these verses tell us a lot about hospitality, and you'll see there's another passage in Romans 12:9 through 13. Love for you to read that one too. And there's a couple of truths that we can take away from these passages. And first is this: others will see God in us through our love for one another. That's where it starts, because obviously we can share God's love with people, we can sing God's love, we can serve God's love. But man, if people walk into our church family and they don't experience the love that we have for one another, why would they come back? Have you ever actually walked into a family gathering and you can tell an argument just happened? Or you come into a meeting and you can tell that the leaders before the meeting talked and they're not on the same page? People can sense that emotional tension, and they can sense it in the church too. So as we continue to better love one another and better care for one another, that love shows in a very powerful way, and it sets the stage for God to do even more. Next, a couple other things. I want to share the next two together and explain them. Our hospitality is to be shared with joy, not done out of obligation, and our gifts are for the benefit of others, not to make yourselves feel good. So here's the thing. I'm new here, so I don't have anybody in mind when I'm sharing this, but I think it's really important that we give you permission to let us know how you're doing in your role. So if you're not enjoying serving in your role, you have permission to talk with us about that. Maybe you are burnt out and you need a break, or maybe you are not serving in the right spot. And so we want to help you maximize your calling and your gifting. And then also, it's really good for us to check our hearts and our motivations. Do we serve because it makes us feel good? Or do we serve because, man, the joy that we get from serving the Lord is even greater? So yeah, just keep those things in mind. Maybe you're in a spot where you're like, I love serving on this team and I want to do more. Let me know. Let Dina know. We would love to talk to you about how you can get more involved with our connection team. All right, next note is this: because God welcomes everyone to him, we are to welcome everyone. And we see that in the text, especially in that Leviticus text, where God's saying, hey, look, you were a foreigner, you were a stranger, you were without hope, and I brought you hope. So I want you to be that same welcoming, opening arm to those that may not fit in with your church family or your church community. I want you to welcome them with open arms, because I did that for you. So that's the other thing we can learn from the text. All right, so there's a lot of stats on hospitality, a lot of details, and the cool thing is corporations spend millions of dollars on all this research, and we get to ride the coattails of that based off of what they found out. So I'm going to read a few stats with you, and then we'll explain them. On average, a person tells 20 people about a bad customer service experience. Now, how many of us can think of a bad customer service experience before we can think of a good one, right? I can remember times where I was treated poorly in the marketplace in some way, shape, or form, and I was probably more vocal to talk about that than when someone did what I kind of expected them to do, which was a good job, right? So we need to be very intentional about making sure that we pour into that customer service experience from the church side, because people are more likely to talk about the negative than the positive. And check this out, it takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one negative experience. So you may have a negative experience in some corporation, customer service experience. You're going to be very hesitant to go back to them. And they may do some nice things for you, but you're still holding on to that thing, right? Next, visitors make up their minds regarding the church in the first 10 minutes. Now, let's say if they're early, they're 5 minutes early, they may have made up their mind 5 minutes into that service. It doesn't take someone long to kind of gauge the emotional, the spiritual, the physical temperature of a place and a space. So people are very attuned more than they realize even to that. Thus, what happens a lot of times is the church is not in the doesn't realize they're in the hospitality business, but they are, and so it's good for us to remember that. And we at True Hope know that. We know we're in the hospitality business, and we're going to continue to get better at that. Lastly, and this is important for all of us, is that we only have one chance to make a first impression. So I think it's important we underestimate, well, what difference do I have to make? I'm only one person. Wow, you can make all the difference in somebody's life. So thank you for serving, and I'm grateful that you're on this team. Okay, so here's our win. This is what we would love to see happen when someone walks into the church. This is what we want to see happen in their life. When a weekend visitor, a visitor comes to our weekend experience and they find the experience so appealing, the people so relatable, and the content so helpful that they want to come back next week with a friend. That's our win. And so we broke down those three areas: the appealing, the relatable, and the helpful, and we expand upon what that meant. We spent time in our meeting talking about that. So under appealing, we want to make sure our space is clean, right? What do you do when someone comes over to your house for a visit? You have a dinner guest. You clean, you tidy up, right? It should be no different for us. Also, we probably organized a little bit too, right? We put a few things away. We set up some placemats and cups and stuff, and we may not be using our paper plates. We're trying to make it organized, and the person knows that they're expected. We want to have that same thing when people come on the weekend. Also, we want to make the space relevant. Does it reflect the area and the space that that location is in? So for example, we're in the North End here downtown, so we have a little bit of this historical side to us, this legacy, this older side to us. So our church building's older, but we're also making updates here and there to the lobby to make it feel more warm and welcoming and modern in some ways. So both are important. We reflect the neighborhood we're in, but we're trying to adapt as well. So it's a good both and piece. All right, relatable. We want to be relatable. So visitors, when they walk in, they're asking, man, is there anybody else here like me? Does anybody want to get to know me? Are these people phony, or are they being authentic and real? Those are all questions that people have, so keep that in mind. We don't want you to pretend to be somebody else on the welcome team unless you're really grouchy. Otherwise, we want you to be you. We want you to connect with people as you naturally do so, because people are looking for those genuine experiences, those relatable moments. Lastly, we want to be helpful. And this pans out in a variety of different ways. Dina and I are going to do a little bit better job. We're going to work at making sure that you feel knowledgeable about your area. So things like, where's the kids program? What services have childcare? All these different questions that people have. We're going to work on better informing you about those things and letting you know what's going on in that regard. So that's one component of it. Secondly, we want people to feel special when they come. So let's say you're serving at the front area, and someone comes up, you're at the front door, and they're like, hey, this is our first time here. Where do we take our kids for the kids program? You'd be like, wow, thank you so much for coming. Here, hey, John, can you help cover my spot? And you say, hey, let's go. And actually, if there's nobody there to cover, still go. You have our permission to go. So walk with them down to where the kids area is, and let them, talk to them the whole way down, and give them that personalized special experience, because that will go a long way in helping them feel helped. Next, we talk about a safe environment. How do we have a safe environment here? Because that's a part of a helpful experience for someone. And I hope you print it out. We have some notes on security protocols. For the sake of the video and the timing here, I don't have the time to walk through all that. I do want to say this one thing. When there's an emergency, there's an earthquake, there's a fire, God forbid there be an active shooter situation, which we don't anticipate, but we want to be prepared for all circumstances. When one of those things happens, parents are going to want to evacuate, go down and pick up their kids, right? Every parent's desire is to protect their kid. Well, they're actually going to cause more harm than good, so we are asking everybody to evacuate the building, letting them know that the security team has already evacuated the kids from the building and that they need to leave as soon as possible, and they will be able to check out their kid at the tennis courts across the street, because that's where security will be taking them. So our security team is amazing, and they are not going to leave any one of those kids behind. So if we send all the parents downstairs, it's just going to be chaos. So just want to make sure you knew that, but please, please, please read those notes, because there's a lot more valuable information in there. Security will be dealing with the threat, we'll be dealing with the fire, we'll be dealing with whatever it is, and it's up to us, the welcome team, to help everybody get out. Does that make sense? So please read those notes. Okay. So along those lines, here's as we wrap up, we're coming down the home stretch here. 3 things that I love for you to really keep in mind as you serve. I believe that you all know this, but it's really important for us to remember these things. First off is this: smile. Please up your game on your smiles. We have a very welcoming, friendly environment. I love for us to just continue to do that a little bit more and extend more smiles. Proverbs 15:13 says that a happy heart makes the face cheerful. And you know what? It's contagious. Just as a yawn is contagious, if I was to yawn right now and you might start yawning, a smile is contagious. So let's communicate the joy that God has for that person coming to his church family, being part of his church family. All right, 2, make eye contact. The last thing we want to have happen is for someone to walk through the doors of the church, to go sit down in the service and leave, and not have anybody look them in the eyes and say, "We're so glad you're here. Thank you for coming." God's family is an embracing, welcoming, hospitable family, and the last thing we want to have happen is where nobody gets looked in the eyes, because it's when in that look in the eyes we're showing their value, we're showing that we see them, we recognize them, we're grateful that they're there. So the smile, the eye contact, and then lastly, we want to give a personalized welcome to everybody that comes in. And the idea of that personalized welcome is this: if someone's like, "Hey, it's good to see you," and they're extending their arms out, they want a hug, they already know you, of course you're going to give them that hug back. If they stick their hand out in a handshake, you're not going to go for the hug, you're going to shake that hand. If their hands are in their pockets and they're just kind of not looking your way as they walk by, look at them. If they were making eye contact, you look that way, say, "Welcome, we're so glad you're here." You don't need to touch them, they don't want to be touched, but we want to give those personalized greetings. I was in a season serving in a church where one of our volunteers wanted to give every single person who walked in a handshake. And it was I understand his heart, and he had a huge heart for everybody, but if a mom's carrying a kid and her Bible or purse or something, she did not want a handshake, but he would touch and give a handshake to them, even though they were it was a mess. So anyways, all that to say, please read the person's emotions coming in and try to meet them there in those moments. Okay, next step for volunteers, we have a couple of quick things to share on that. We have a variety of ways to help new visitors get connected. The biggest one is at our espresso bar, where they can get their own specialty drink for free. So when you meet them, "Hey, we're so glad you're here. Hey, guess what? We have a free cup of coffee for you. I'll introduce you to some of my friends that are over at the espresso bar, and they'll take care of you. Hey, espresso bar team, this is Bob. It's his first week here. Can you take care of him, hook him up with some coffee?" "Oh, yeah, we can. Come over here, Bob." That's beautiful, because they're now making more connections. We get that Connect card from them. We'll be following up like, "Hey, here's their Connect card. We got it. We're going to follow up with them right now this week and touch base with them." That is our big win. So when you're serving, connect them to that espresso bar. We also have our Connect dinner, which is really great for folks that are maybe like a month in or a couple weeks into coming, and they're like, "Wow, I really like this place. I'm going to keep coming." The Connection dinner is perfect for them. We also have small groups and serving as other options as well. Okay, so here's our next steps. Kelly and I are going to have you all over to our house January 17th. It's going to be some kind of open house thing. We don't have space to seat everybody in terms of a dining experience, but we're going to have some food. People can mingle. We're just really excited to build some more team camaraderie into our team. So do check that out. The dates are below on the screen. Also, we're going to start asking you guys to come 25 minutes early to the service that you serve at, and we're going to do some team huddles together. There's so much value in us preparing our hearts to serve through prayer, and it's a way for Dina and I and the rest of our team, whoever helps us lead, to help equip you to serve and to make you knowledgeable about things you'll need to know about that weekend. Lastly, you'll see some emails about some scheduling that's going to be taking place. We're going to do a better job of online scheduling. But yeah, that's all for now. I want to end the video because I've talked long enough, but that 45 minutes is there in 15 minutes. So thank you so much for your time. I'm grateful for you. We love you so much, and I'm really excited for where our team is going this next year and how God is going to grow us. So you're all set. You're up to speed on everything that's going on. Have a wonderful day. Email me, call me if you have any questions. Love you. Bye.